What it do, NMA crew? Amen. Listen, today I'm going to be talking about Magnolia. It's a 3-hour and 8-minute long drama film from 1999, which I just had the privilege of seeing in theaters, and it's extremely good. I guess I'll start by saying this is one of my friend's favorite movies, and he recommended it to me, and so I went with him. It was a great theater experience, really cool little place, but to get to the actual movie, it's very long, it's very dense, but the first thing you'll notice about it is that it is extremely well and intentionally crafted. For being over 3 hours long, there are no superfluous scenes. There's no extra bullshit. Everything is information. Everything is there for a reason, and everything is shot uniquely and purposefully. There are so many amazing shots and just overall segments in this film, especially with a lot of the scene transitions towards the beginning, middle, and end. Honestly, there was a lot of really cool stuff going on there. Also, really good acting performances throughout. A couple of just amazing standout performances. Too many to be in one singular movie, almost. It's almost preposterous. It's a movie that's very unpredictable. It twists and turns in ways that you are not anticipating. There's a lot of really strong tone motifs and an amazing thematic through line as well, which I'll get to in a little bit. And the character writing is phenomenal. There were like 3-4 characters that I considered like really amazing that I was super invested in. And the main one, or the first one rather, was this dude, and he's like a douchebag pickup artist, but he's like really aggressive, you know, he's like just all about getting laid, all about asserting his dominance and taking control of his future and, you know, whatnot. And I thought they were going to go down the conventional route, which is like, you know, a guy has some sort of bad experience with women and he sort of lashes out at them as a result of that. But it was really interesting the way they did it, because it turned out that he was sort of abandoned by his father when his mother got breast cancer. He also cheated on her and did a bunch of stuff. Everybody cheats on everyone in this movie. I mean, it's crazy out here, y'all. But, yeah, so his male role model was a horrible person who neglected his mother in her time of need. And he hates him and he's totally estranged with him. And the way that he sort of internalized that was that men are just that women just are not as evil as men, and men are evil, and he is a man, and he's like trying to live with the guilt of feeling like being a good man is like paradoxical, I guess, because he had like absolutely no positive male role models, which not necessarily in the male sense or in a very literal sense, but it's a mindset that I unfortunately relate to from time to time in specific fields. Feeling like, oh, you know, well, I'm doing this and everyone I know who does this is a piece of shit, so am I just secretly a piece of shit? But this guy just like totally leans into it self-destructively to the point where he's just this boiling cauldron of rage that's gonna pop off on all fours at any second. But it's so weird. It's such a weird dynamic, because he was genuinely caring for the women in his life at some point. But it was like he was so broken by that situation with his father that it's like the only way he can deal with it almost. It's like this very bizarre, very toxic, but I will say legitimately realistic, as weird as it sounds, way of coping with the total lack of father figure and, you know, domestic abuse as a child as well. You know, this oftentimes internalizes in super aggressive behavior and stuff like that. But it's like this really interesting dynamic where he's just pissed off constantly and like boiling over. At any moment, he's just going to like break out and like freak out on somebody. And it makes for some really intense scenes towards the middle of the movie, which is a really strong theme and motif here, especially in the second act, as there's a lot of tension. There's a lot of things boiling over, emotional moments that are coming to a climax. There's the cop. There's a cop character, and he's in the girl's house, and she's like tweaking out on drugs, and you're watching this like painfully drawn out conversation between them of her like fucking itching her nose and stuff, and you're just trying to figure out when it's gonna go wrong, what the hell's gonna happen. And then you have there's like a kid at a game show and the announcer's like dying, but then the kid also has to freaking pee, and so the kid's like freaking out here just trying not to pee in his seat, and his dad's like getting pissed off at him, and all the while you hear the announcer like struggling his way through, and you like know he's gonna collapse at any moment. There's like a ton of things in the middle there. The entire scene with a man on his deathbed, which was like one of the primary narratives of this story. It's like interwoven narratives. It's like the lives of like 10 people and like how they relate. They don't necessarily all culminate in a way like Odd Taxi or some shit, but they all connect. You know, they don't all connect, but they're all connected eventually. Basically, they're interwoven, and there's a very strong thematic emphasis on that in the sense that it's sort of about a lot of things. It's about, you know, the cycle of trauma and how unresolved things will boil over into the way that you treat other people as an adult, which will, you know, have another chain impact about how other people treat other people. You know, it's definitely a story that's been told. But also it's a story about life and death. There's characters of all ages, which I am an absolute sucker for in here. There's people who are dying. There's people who are like young ass kids. Characters from all over the place, and you really see sort of the cycle of life playing out, with some people growing, some people dying, and in conjunction with the inherent emphasis on like all of their actions being linked, it sort of has this really powerful feeling of, I want to say, oneness. Like, while the stories literally connect, they more tonally and thematically connect as opposed to everything else, in a way that sort of makes it all feel like one big form of life. It's very difficult to describe, but it's very much like a story about humanity at large a little bit more. You know, there's a lot of themes of moving forward, of constantly being affected by the past. One of the biggest quotes was like, you may be done with the past, but the past is never done with you. And so it's like these people's the stuff that affected them as a child is still affecting them to this day, and them being affected by it to this day is affecting other people and their futures. And it's just like this giant web of interconnectedness that comes from these core human emotions of, you know, disagreement and jealousy and at times love and good intention. But it's very, very interesting in that sense, because while the characters aren't all actually connected, you feel a similar but distinct narrative playing out with every single one of them, you know, largely of coming to terms with the current relationships in their life and learning how to deal with their unresolved emotions towards important people to them, would kind of be the main through line. But it's just so weird. It's so interesting. I love it. There's this like cop character who's just like an oaf, and he goes up to this girl, and she's like drugged the fuck out all the time, and he goes on a date with her, and she's about to tell him like the most disturbing, difficult to talk about things like anybody could ever imagine on the date, and confess, and he's like, I lost my gun today. It made me look like such a dumb idiot. I lost my gun today. And you're sitting there thinking, when this guy lost his gun, I thought he was gonna die. Like, I thought he was actually going to die, but he's just sitting here being like, oh, man, the whole force was laughing at me, you know, I can't even take myself seriously these days, which is like, no, I get it. Like, it's not a problem. It's a real problem. I've had that problem before, feeling like, you know, you just fuck up so much in the workplace that everybody thinks you're an idiot, and maybe they're right, and you are just fundamentally incompetent. You know, like, there is probably some level of that. He doesn't strike me as, like, the most contemplative character in the story. In fact, probably the opposite. Probably the opposite. He's like the most willing to just go out and do shit, which is, you know, ultimately his greatest ally in this story. He's the one who sort of has the most positive arc besides one of the younger characters. But even him, he doesn't get what he wants. It's like, it's just a story about so many of these complex situations that are just so hard to resolve, and people working to resolve them and coping with the fact that they're not able to. Like when the kid towards the end of the movie starts telling his dad that he needs to treat him better, and his dad like doesn't really budge on it. It's like, okay, well, we've recognized this at a young enough age where it might be possible to cope with, though the effects are pretty much going to last forever. And it's going to be very difficult to gauge his relationship with ostensibly his only parent moving forward, because like totally estranging himself from him might not be something that makes him feel as good. Maybe the dad's not like a totally irredeemable person, even though he's kind of painted out to be one mostly in this movie. But then at the same time, you know, the closer and more vulnerable you get with that guy, he's gonna abuse him. There's a lot of themes of child abuse and sexual assault in this movie, which is really just, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, you know, this is a very honest movie. It's a very realistic movie, and that's stuff. It happens far too much. The main sort of message in this movie or quote was like, notion, I guess rather, is that so many things happen intentionally. Like, it's not just coincidence. It's the energy you're putting out into the world that all the time makes its way all the way back around to you through traveling from the past to the present to another person to another person to another person's kid to back to you later in life. And like, it's all this stuff. But like, everything is connected. It seeks to let you know that the things you do don't not matter. You know, it shows the effects. The rippling effect of all these people on the others. And that's why it's so important that they're not all directly connected, because they all do to some extent, not all, but most of them do to some extent indirectly affect each other, which is kind of the point of the movie. But it's really good. And that theme obviously goes with the whole idea of oneness, of like all of the energy being put out, coming back around to you. It's a very almost spiritual message, but I don't even remember what the fuck I was talking about. There's crazy shit. The comedy is actually like really good. Like, when they try to be funny, I have such an aversion to laughing in movie theaters, because I hear a bunch of other people laugh at like a mediocre joke. I'm saying like, that's not that funny. Like, it's almost like I hear everybody go crazy over it because they're in a theater, you know, they have every right to, and I just sit here thinking, yeah, that didn't deserve that big of a pop. It sets the joke up for failure for me. But I was in a theater with a lot of people in it who were laughing at the jokes, and I still thought none of them really fell flat. I thoroughly enjoyed a lot of them. The timing was really good in terms of like dark humor, because, you know, at the end of the day, this movie is over 3 hours long of heavy drama and constant information. So those brief moments of levity definitely didn't take away from my impression of the movie as being a super heavy, long and intricate winding drama. But it did provide some levity and help with the pacing a bit, definitely. And it catches you really off guard, which, you know, is what makes for a lot of the best comedy, but it's also just good. The final act of this movie is fucking nuts. It starts raining frogs, which I think is a thing that actually happens. Oh god, I need to talk about the game show and everything. There's so much to talk about. But it starts raining frogs basically out of nowhere, which I think is a thing that happened like one time ever. And that's sort of to emphasize this theme of coincidence, of just these impossibly crazy things happening, when it's like the main example that they use, though I don't think you can link any of the characters' actions to this actually happening. It's sort of like almost divine intervention, you know, further feeding into the spiritual tilt of everything. But when it comes down to like when they were establishing that coincidence thing, there was a guy who was trying to end his own life, and his parents were always arguing, so he loaded the gun that they always threaten each other with, so that one of them would just accidentally kill the other. And it's like, he was like, their anger ended up killing him. Like, it's not a coincidence. Like, it is a coincidence, but the crazy coincidence is that everything was his fault. You know, it's like not like he wasn't in a bad situation per se. You know, he was just growing up in a, you know, unstable household, probably. I don't know his full story, but I don't think it's for real. But the point is that like his actions all looped back around and ended up killing him in a unique way, pretty much. Like, he was gonna kill himself anyway, but it wasn't gonna be successful, and his actions ended up making its way back around to him, no matter what fate decided, really. because fate had sort of placed those safety nets down there, which, to be fair, I don't know how he didn't see. That was a little weird. But yeah, it's just oh man, it's just weird. I really liked the game show segment, especially. There was some, I think it was the same actor that was in Punch Drunk Love, which is another PTA film, and it was really funny. There were a lot of really good little bits in there. It was very stressful to watch. It was something that you'd already seen affect one of the other characters and his like spiral into insanity and homoerotic repression. It's a weird movie. Later in life, and you're just like seeing it happen in real time, and you're seeing this kid try to do it right and being as reasonable as he can be. But it's just like it's just not working. There's so many people putting so many expectations on him, and it's like, how can this not go around back to bite him? And he's just trying to stay as positive as humanly possible, and hopefully, God willing, there's a way that it will reach back around to him. When I talk about the show having like movie having like divine intervention and things of that nature, I don't necessarily actually think it's explicitly religious. It might be. I think it's more just about like the idea of karma and the chain reaction of effects of what you put out into the world coming back to you. And, a lot of that doesn't even have to be as literal as the ripple effect of your actions reaching back around to you. Sometimes it can just be like your outlook, the way you treat people influences your personal outlook on life, which makes everything look less horrible. When in reality, it's all just the same. Like, there are things you can do with your mindset that make everything better for not only the people around you, but for yourself. And that's kind of the beauty of a lot of these things. But at the end of the day, most of the time, it's really hard. It's really hard to make the right decision. It's really hard to know what to do to not hurt other people. It's hard to know what to do when you have like really bad mistakes in your past or things that were done to you in your past that you just don't know how to deal with. It's just hard. And I think about these characters who sort of spend their whole lives dissociating and letting these things just totally shape their personality and like boil under the surface, when these people that they hold all of this like resentment and negative energy towards, that they just want to see the worst things happen to, are dying. And so time is of the essence in the sense that it's not going to be long until they can never say their piece. Like they have to make peace with that before they die. Like, people talk about like forgiveness. It doesn't always have to be so literal as like, I think that, it's okay, you're not actually a bad guy, I forgive you. It's like sometimes forgiveness is more so a general thing about moving forward with your own life. And it's sort of like you have to have that resolution. A lot of people have to have that resolution face to face so that they can go on being a more functional person without that weight on their shoulders. And I've always found the dynamic of not having much time to do that, but really wanting to, and not totally understanding how, but just being pressed to because you have no more time and you have to. I've always found that very interesting and very compelling. There was some really good music as well. I'm kind of rambling on at this point. I hope I made my my main opinions on this movie known. It was really good. It was obscenely well made, like so well made, so well acted, so well directed, so well scored, so well shot. Like all of the like traditional elements of filmmaking, including the character writing as well. I'd even say the pacing with respects to things like the well-timed comedic relief and the way that all the scenes are split up and the way that they all transition into each other in like increasingly creative ways. I think that was all great. I think this movie had a heart of gold. I've noticed I call everything shows. But yeah, no, everything about it was great. I loved it. You guys should all go watch Magnolia, even though it's long as fuck. And then the last thing I'm going to say with the worst mic on earth is that I think the overall message of this movie is that as long as your intentions are pure, no matter how incompetent you are or no matter how much you don't totally understand the complexities of a situation like the police officer character, as long as you have the right intention and you are genuinely going out to try to help people, that kindness will come back around to you, and that it is worthwhile, just in the same way that karma comes back to bite people who wrong so many of the people in their lives. I think that's what I'd say. I'd say it's an ultimately hopeful message about not being able to understand some things, but still being able to throw yourself at them and hopefully some way, somehow make the world a little bit better of a place. So, yep.